My crazy girlfriend demands that I give her $100,000 or else she will leave me and never love me again. And after having an on and off again relationship with her, as well as finally coming to my senses that this might not be good for me, I am now highly considering dumping her as I'm starting to realize that my girlfriend might actually be scamming me. Here's what happened. So I met my girlfriend earlier this year at an Asian massage parlor, and we've been together for 8 months. She is Chinese and I'm Chinese American, and we communicate in Chinese. In the beginning, I visited her, and eventually we moved to texting on WeChat. We would talk about dreams and daily life, and I would also help her with English every single day, and I actually really loved her. About 3 months in, she started asking me to drive her around to see store locations for future businesses. So for about 1 to 2 months, I would research locations, create a list, and I would drive her to go see them. At one point, I asked her if the location we saw was great, but she thinks it's too close to another nearby massage parlor. I mentioned that it's not, since it's like 3 blocks away, which is much further than a previous location we saw, which has another parlor literally across the street. In a raised voice, she said to me, "How many times do I have to tell you not to ask this type of question? You never learn." So I got annoyed and I raised my voice and said, "Well, I need to know your thought process since it seems to be contradictory to what you said. You need to make up your mind." Well, we did not talk on the car ride home, and from this point forward, it was basically the end of our sweet honeymoon phase. And this would be our first breakup. Each time I would have to talk to her and comfort her to be accepted again. In the next few months, we were still together, and we would take turns staying over at each other's places. And every now and then, we would go out and play badminton. One time, when I went to get the racks from my car trunk, she put her over-the-shoulder backpack on me. I took it off and I asked her to hold it for me while I get the rackets. Well, she wasn't happy, and I can see this wasn't going to end well. But I thought we already drove all the way over to the badminton courts, and we should just continue as this might cheer her up. So I just paid for the badminton session. When we started to play, she took her racket out of the bag and dropped the racket bag and remaining rackets on the ground from a standing position, and I was a bit shocked. I didn't serve, and I asked her why she did that, and then my girlfriend just left the building. Now, luckily, I was able to request a refund, and then I quickly went after her, and this incident would be our second breakup. Now, around this time, she deleted me from her WeChat, which meant that all the early romantic conversations we had were gone from her end. I still have our conversation history on my WeChat, but she was not able to recover them on her end. And this is really hard, since our memory of each other is lost now. Now, it's worth mentioning, since my English and Chinese is good, I often help out her and her relatives with any English-related task on a regular basis. One time, I helped her cousin sign up for a Gmail account, and it was then that I learned her cousin was older than me. Now, I found this strange, since her cousin always referred to my girlfriend as an older sister in Chinese. The whole time, I thought my girlfriend was younger than me, but I had a suspicion that she might be older. But this wasn't an issue because I really loved her. One time when we went into my car, she mentioned that I'm just like a little brother, so I took the chance to ask about her age, and I learned that she was older than me by 3 years. We then got food and talked about this, and I later found out she has been in a previous marriage in China and has a daughter. I also learned going from China to California was not cheap, and she owes her aunt over $50,000 for the arrangement. Last month in September, we were casually talking on WeChat, and I was looking at my Apple Watch and noticed I was spending quite a bit on food, and I needed to be more aware of my spending when it comes to myself. Now, this was all in Chinese, and my Chinese is good, but it's not perfect. Well, she mistook this as me saying I've been spending too much on our dates, and later sent a message to me saying that we should break up. I didn't know what to say, and she later just ignored me. For about a week, I felt depressed, and I just couldn't function. So I drove to her house and I talked to her. I said, "Without you, I'm not myself, and I'm not complete." I asked her what she wanted, and she told me she wants $50,000 by the end of September so that she can pay off her debt to her aunt. And you know what? I agreed. And then she says she wants me to buy her a $50,000 car, which is way more expensive than my own car. She says that she wants this so she can leave this industry and then she can pursue her passion of being a beautician. And honestly, not being able to think, I just completely agreed with her. It should be noted, agreeing on her request and saying it can be done means that I have to get it done. Otherwise, I don't mean what I say and then she'll just leave me again. With this though, she wanted to see results. So I gave her aunt $5,000 in cash. This was almost my full bank account, and the following weeks were very difficult for me financially. On the last day of September, I saw flowers at Costco and I thought of her, so I decided to bring them over. I've been busy throughout the week, and I didn't think too much about getting the $45,000 personal loan. I applied to a few locations, but rates were high, and they weren't from well-known banks, so so I didn't think much about it. When I got to her house, she was happy to see me and asked if I took care of the loan. I said I did not have time and I was busy all week. Well, she immediately became bitter, and then she went to her room and just completely ignored me. I told her I would be able to do it, but she just said that I'm not able to keep my word. The next day, she was a bit better, and we went to scout a location to open up a beautician shop. When we got to my place, I tried to get close to her, if you know what I mean, but she said not until she gets the money. With us breaking up so often, I wasn't sure if I wanted to take the loan out, so I asked if she could text me that she would at least pay the monthly fees. But then she got upset and called an Uber home. Now, I tried to text her, but I got no reply. So, feeling really depressed, I started applying for personal loans, and I found out that Discover Bank was able to help, and I started the application process. Now, it's also important to know that her cousin and aunt often ask me for help. And fast forward to this week, and recently, her cousin asked me to search for Toyota cars for her. So, I took my girlfriend's cousin around to see cars yesterday. We didn't really see what we liked, and we returned to my girlfriend's house. Now, my girlfriend is still ignoring me, but when I tried to talk to her, she mentioned that unless I have the money, she will not talk to me. She also mentioned today was a waste of time since we checked cars and had no result. I talked to my girlfriend, promising that I'll get the money and I will start paying it off first until she has her license. And then I will buy her a car and she will start paying off the personal loans. We all then had dinner, and I found out her cousin and her aunt don't have the $25,000 cash to buy a Toyota that they want. Having come from China recently, getting a loan may be a difficult process for them. So my girlfriend proposed for me to take out a $25,000 personal loan under my name so that I could give it to her cousin to buy a car, and that this $25,000 will then be deducted from the $50,000 that she owes her aunt. And again, I just agreed with her. I went through the process with Discover Loans, and they mentioned needing 48 to 72 hours to process everything. My girlfriend was still bitter, but things were starting to look better. Now, at night, I needed her room to finish some work, and I finally wrapped up at around midnight, and when she came into the room, she asked when I'm going home. I said I was wrapping up, and then I asked her if I can take the couch in the living room, but she said that her aunt was going to sleep there since their house was full that day. But her aunt ended up sharing a bed with someone else, and instead let me take the couch. Now, this all happened yesterday night, so that night, as I was wrapping up work, I started to think, even as I try to make my girlfriend happy and do what she wants, she is still never happy. The romantic days that we shared months ago disappeared, and it has never been the same ever since. And I realize I really don't need to be treated like this. The person I really loved is no longer there. It is sad, but looking at it from a bigger picture, I'm only hurting myself, and I don't need to be treated like this. I'm scared of loneliness, being rejected, and disappointing people. And I really like the feeling of somebody loving me, and that may be the reason why I kept going back. So yesterday night at 1 in the morning, I packed my backpack and I drove home. And my roommate was awake, so I just talked about my ideas until about 3 in the morning. Now, I'm writing this since it does make sense for me to leave. It makes sense to me logically, financially, and mentally. I guess I'm just longing for a memory that I'm hoping will come back, but it won't. This is my first anonymous post, and I'm writing this to remember what I've been going through and the reasons why I want to leave. What should I do? Okay, I am blown away that you're even with this lady in the first place. Okay, let me get this straight. She's treated you like garbage practically from the beginning of your relationship, and now she's literally asking for tens of thousands of dollars from you. And she's only gonna be happy unless you give her that money. Like, how could anybody in their rational mind be like, oh, but I want to feel loved and accepted. I want to feel loved by somebody. But like, my man, this lady does not like you. She likes your bank account, and she's gonna love putting you in debt, especially if it helps out her and her family. Like, these people are playing you for a fool. They are exploiting you and they are scamming you. They don't care about you in the slightest. And your girlfriend is not your girlfriend. She doesn't care about you either. I think I can confidently say that based on what you've described. Like, what girlfriend in their right mind would be like, oh, the only way you can make me happy is by giving me $50,000. Otherwise, I'm never talking to you. Like, she sounds more like a loan shark than she does like someone that cares about you. So brother, the writing is on the wall, and you can seriously do so much better than this crazy lady. She only cares about money, and more importantly, she only cares about your money. Because I guarantee you, if you fund anything in their lives, the second they get that money, they're gonna hightail it and you will never see them again. And that is not something that you ever want to deal with. If you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out, link down below in the description. Also, go to AmITheJerk.com/submit if you would like to submit your own stories. Am I the jerk for refusing to help my parents out financially, all because they only help my siblings siblings and have quite literally turned me away anytime I needed any kind of help. Here's what happened. So I'm a 30-year-old male and I'm the oldest of 5, and my siblings range from the ages of 28 all the way down to 23. Our parents were always generous with giving money when asked for it, except when it came to me. I was told I should learn to work hard. I was told I didn't need the video game or the toy that I might be asking for. I was told that earning money was the only way I'd ever have money, and I had not earned money from them. But my siblings could get whatever they wanted. When I first graduated college, I ended up struggling financially because where I went to work, the cost of apartments were so high. I asked my parents if they could help me out, and they just said no to me. I ended up in a shelter for a few weeks and then rented a dump of an apartment with a friend who found himself in literally the same situation. They not only helped my siblings through college, which they didn't do for me by the way, but they gave each of them lump sums after they graduated to help them get started in life. They also helped them out when asked over the years, especially during the COVID years. They didn't offer any money to help towards mine and my wife's wedding. And you know what? We didn't even ask. But it stood out more when my sister got engaged and our parents had mentioned money for all the weddings. And again, it was all except for mine. Only now this has finally all caught up with them and they are in a very tight spot with money. And now they're asking me for money too. They told me they need my wife and I's help and we should do it because of how great they have been and that they have never said no to any of us. But I told them they have never helped me with anything, that they preferred to see me homeless rather than help me out. They argued back that it never happened and I could have asked if things were that bad. But I then showed them screenshots of text messages where I had brought the topic up after asking them verbally. Well, my parents dismissed it and then told me that they're still my parents and I'm the most settled and I could afford to help them out. But you know what? I admitted to them that I could, but I didn't feel that they earned it. Well, my parents called me spiteful and said I should help my parents rather than see them lose everything. I told them to ask the kids who they helped. And you know what? Even my siblings were pissed off that I said no. They told me mom and dad don't deserve my pettiness. So am I the jerk for turning them away and refusing to give them any money? What should I do? You are not the jerk and you are definitely giving them a taste of their own medicine. These people literally allowed you to become homeless. They showed all this love and kindness towards your siblings, but when it came to your desperate needs, they literally turned a blind eye and said, "I'm sorry, but you haven't earned it yet." Which, by the way, that was a fantastic line to deliver towards them, especially because you know they absolutely remember saying that to you. So no, I don't think you're the jerk at all. These people have reaped what they sowed. Karma is literally coming back to bite them in the rear end, and in my opinion, based on what you described, these people absolutely deserve it. Am I the jerk for bringing an uninvited guest to a destination wedding after the maid of honor found out that my boyfriend was staying in my hotel room? Because right now, she is making a huge deal out of this, and at this point, I seriously don't know what to do. Here's what happened. I'm a 26-year-old female, and I was invited to a wedding within my state, but far enough away that if I attended, I would have to sleep over at a hotel for at least 2 nights if I arrived the night before. And that's because this was pretty much planned to be an all-day affair. Now, I was very flattered to be invited, as I didn't think I was that close to the couple. It was a fairly small wedding, maybe 60 guests including the bridal party, and obviously as it was very small, and I was possibly a second round invite, I didn't get a +1, which honestly was fine with me. So I ultimately decided to go. When I went to book the hotel room for my stay, I found that they only had large rooms available, as it is a popular wedding destination, and it is a bit fancy. So I thought to myself, why not invite my boyfriend? That way we could trade off on the long drive there and back, and we can share the big room that I would have to pay for anyways. The idea was that night we arrived, we could get dinner together somewhere new, and then have a nice breakfast before heading back home. While I was at the wedding events, he could just hang out in the hotel room or by the pool or whatever. Now the wedding went great, and then after it wrapped up, the maid of honor was chatting with me as I walked back to my room and I knocked on the door instead of digging through my bag for the key card. When my boyfriend opened the door for me, the maid of honor just greeted him and walked off, and I didn't think it was a big deal or anything like that. A few days later, the maid of honor reached out and said it was awkward and uncomfortable for me to have invited him to the hotel, and that it made everybody feel bad and weird that he was there waiting for the wedding to end when they had not invited him. And when we were told that, we were both very surprised. No one even knew he was there because it didn't come up at all during the wedding. It definitely wasn't a big secret, and honestly, we wouldn't have thought it was a big deal if people did know. And he had only met the bride and groom like 6 times and had 0 issues with not being invited to such an intimate wedding. Also, if it matters, I was far from the only guest who didn't get a +1, and I never asked to be given a +1 for him. I have no clue if the maid of honor told the bride, and if the bride also thinks this was inappropriate. If she hasn't, I really don't want to contact her, especially during her honeymoon to start drama. I didn't check or anything beforehand, which is my bad, I guess. So honestly, am I the jerk for inviting him to be at the hotel? Was this really that big of a deal? What should I do? No, you are not the jerk, and that maid of honor is an idiot. Seriously, let's think about this for a second. He didn't even go to the wedding. He literally stayed at the hotel and just waited for the wedding to be done. So for this maid of honor to idiotically be like, wow, you made this really weird for all of us. It's like, what are you talking about? He wasn't at the wedding. And this isn't even a hotel that they paid for. The original poster paid for this out of their own pocket. It would be different if the bride and groom paid for these hotel rooms, and then the original poster snuck their boyfriend in and they stayed with them during the duration. But that is not what happened. This came out of their own pocket and they're the ones that paid for this. And if they wanted to bring their whole family with them and they all stuffed in that hotel room, then that is literally nobody's business except for the original poster. Like, the maid of honor didn't even know about this. So for her to be like, wow, you made everybody uncomfortable because of that. She's literally only talking about herself, because before this moment, she didn't even know that this guy was there. Like, seriously, what an annoying, idiotic thing to say. So no, you're definitely not the jerk for having your boyfriend at your hotel room. That maid of honor is a busybody and clearly is looking for reasons to complain. And that is definitely not your problem in the slightest. An entitled Karen demands that I get out of the way so that she and her stupid husband can move along and get past us faster than everybody else. And despite the fact that all of our cars are stuck in a deadlock and that none of us are moving any faster than the other, this Karen still goes into a rage, even going as far as knocking on my car window, demanding that I move faster or else she is gonna lose it. And I'm honestly still blown away by this entitled Karen's behavior, and I seriously hope I never have to deal with her ever again. Here's what happened. Okay, so I had a friend in from out of town, and we decided to go to a major attraction in my city that I had not been to yet. And needless to say, with it being one of the last sunny Saturdays of summer, the parking lot was absolutely packed. We find ourselves waiting behind a line of about 5 cars, and there are a few other cars behind us in the parking lot, and it's also a one-way road. We're sitting there for about 2 minutes when suddenly the parked car next to us starts honking. Now, let me just add in really quick that if someone is clearly trying to get out of a parking spot, like inching forward, turning their lights on or anything like that, then I will always make room if I can. Now, I didn't see anything like that when we got in line, and I didn't even notice anyone was in the car at all. We look over and we see Karen and Ken in the front seat, but seem to be making arm movements, as if to say, oh, I'm sorry, we hit the horn. And we look at them and they're just smiling and waving. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, I'm not sure what's going on, so we just go ahead and ignore them. Well, suddenly, this Karen gets out of the car and storms up in a fury and starts to knock on my driver's side window really hard. And I can see that she's got the crazy eyes. I roll it down just enough to talk because I was honestly bewildered. This woman says to me, can you guys just move? We're trying to get out of here. Now, thinking that I might be talking to an alien who doesn't fully grasp the concept of time and space, I say something to the effect of, we can't get through these cars any easier than you can. I'm sorry, but I can't do anything. She then goes on to say, be serious. You can squeeze through on the left and get past all these cars. Figure it out. You can do it. We believe in you. I said to her, I'll do what I can, and then I rolled my window back up. Now, since I'm a people pleaser, I actually did the whole crane my neck thing for a few seconds, and I saw that the cars were clearing out in front of us, and this Karen was out of my face for no more than 10 seconds before I saw her huffing up to my car again like some kind of angry Donald Duck, and it was honestly such perfect timing. I was just able to move forward literally as her fist was raised to my window again, and the look on her face as we drove past was absolutely hilarious. I then see Karen in my rearview mirror literally scrambling back to her car, and she and Ken peel out, acting like they were fast when the car behind me was letting them in anyways. They then come to a screeching halt behind me, and the entire time they're inching off to the left, as if they're going to magically squeeze their SUV through the 2 feet of available space in the left. And for all this drama, keep in mind that this all happened within about 4 minutes. When it was all said and done, we found parking within 5 minutes of getting there, and thankfully we didn't see this entitled Karen again, and we were so glad because we definitely did not want to deal with her for a second time. Yeah, I will never understand people acting like that, especially when you're just trying to find parking. Like, for starters, it's a major attraction in the city, and it's like the last day of summer practically. So for these people to be throwing a fit like that and acting as if, oh my god, you gotta get out of the way, we're waiting forever, like that kind of attitude would never make me move any faster. If anything, it would probably make me slow down just a little bit more. And you know what? Anyone who bangs on my car window is absolutely not getting what they want from me. That's inappropriate, that's rude, and seriously, you're just not gonna do that. So good for you for the way that you handled this, as well as the fact that you left this lady scrambling at the last second. Because at the end of the day, this wasn't some emergency situation, but instead, at the end of the day, this was just a bunch of entitled people acting like spoiled brats. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications. To finish listening to all the stories, check out the playlist at the top of the description. And if you want some chill music to put on in the background, check out easymode.com. If you like Am I the Jerk, subscribe to Am I the Genius. Everything will be linked down below in the description.